Hey, all right, we are back for some Martial Powers Monday. Give me a hot second here for me to make sure I can get the Twitter link up and running. I just want to make sure that everything is running smoothly because I don't see it posting on my channel yet. I'm still seeing here, waiting for it to populate. It says I'm streaming, but I'm not getting any kind of acknowledgments from systems here that there we go, and there we go. Okay, cool. Did it? Okay, great. So just give me a hot second here. If you check down in the doobly-doo down below, you'll see a link to my Twitter, which I've just posted to. Like and subscribe so that you can keep in touch with what I got going on and when I go live. All the playtest content that we're looking at here today is free to view through links on my Patreon, which I now also have active and is linked down below. You don't have to be a patron to view the playtest content. Though in the next week or so, I'm going to have a ton of pre-alpha development work that folks will be able to look at what's in the wings for the next 6 to 18 months that will be publishing either on Patreon exclusively as patron content, or ideally going to DMsGuild or potentially even kickstarting stuff. But for now, we are simply staying focused on working through the content that we have available. So just one more second here and we're going to get into actual content. The other link down below is a look at the other work that I've done on DMsGuild already involving spell point variant rules and color mana for people that are MTG enthusiasts. Using color instead of schools is an obvious narrative visual effect that has only enhanced and improved the descriptions and interaction with people at the tables that I play at. So we're looking at here at the Martial Powers. You can see all this content is again it's on my Patreon here. It's free for you to look at. Just go ahead and click on the link below and grab at it. All the books that I publish on DMsGuild are 100% preview, so you can check the link below, see all the work that I've done. To get an idea of how I do layouts, where my design process and thinking goes, and just the kind of value that I'm looking to bring to the table. Martial Powers is providing a mana system for all the martial classes and hybrids using unique powers that are completely separate from spellcasting that full casters, for the most part, barring some minor exceptions, don't have access to at all. So this is all... Like, spellcasters already get all the toys. They've got like 500 some odd spells that they already have blanket access to. This is taking efforts to help even those odds. We're going to first focus prioritizing going through, again, all this stuff is free for you to look at. So if you check the link below, you can just play along with me as we go through today's ideation process. I'm going to move my body over a little bit on the board. There we go. Cool. I'm going to pour myself some water. So over the past, this is what is it, the 12th session that we've done now? That we've been going through the ideation process, refining the language, and adding pieces to the playtest. I do not plan on publishing this until maybe Q1 2023, so it's still got probably a good 6 months worth of development and playtesting content to go through. Hiring a writer to do the cleanup, as well as edits to make sure that it reads as smoothly as I can. At which point, once it gets done with the editing, it comes back to me for me to build out in layouts. And then once the layout is done, we see where the gaps in the material is, where I can drop artwork, which I will, and I'll do all that on stream as well. So once I get done with this ideation process, we'll be doing a page-by-page go-through of the final text document so that you guys can see what the stuff is. And again, it'll be 100% preview for you guys to look at the entire document to decide if it's something that you want to invest in what I'm doing, either as a patron or just hopefully directly purchasing the product to let DMsGuild know that until I specifically publish something myself that goes platinum, DMsGuild doesn't trust that my content is strong enough to warrant print on demand. So I'm looking forward to getting to the point where my work has platinum sales, so that I can hire a crew to build this out for print on demand for people that like to have meat space content. But otherwise, I'm planning on sticking with the PDF style. I like the ability to make changes on the fly as further playtest suggestions and personal experience warrants. But anyway, so having said all that, we've tooled through strikes before, but we want to come back and work on it a little bit more because there are improvements. We're just trying to dive a little bit deeper into the text of the stuff so that it reads a little bit more smoothly. And hopefully, I'm going to set a timer here. Hopefully we can punch through this content pretty quickly so that we have some time to look at the Paladin later on. So I'm going to set a clock here, a timer, 20 minutes on the board. We're going to see if I can get done with this in 40 minutes so that we can go to the full table and the full document with all the rough hatch going through it, all the stuff that isn't part of the playtest yet, to get the Paladins integrated into the playtest content this week as well. So we're going to go through the strikes, and again, readdressing strikes. We can go up here to the other document. You can see that beep 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 beep. Okay, so when you're second, like a Paladin, Ranger, get these things at second level, and then like Fighter, Barbarian, Rogue, they get it as a subclass starting at third level. And you can see that you start up with a D6, and then it grows into a D8, and then eventually grows into a D10, spending 1, 2, 3, 4, and eventually 5 mana. Each point of mana that you spend on a strike allows you to add a die, a power die to your strikes. When you just like with Divine Strikes, when you hit something, you can then decide to spend mana to add a strike to it. So like if you're 18th level and you hit with an attack, you can then decide to drop in 5 mana to do 5d8 damage, or you could spend, like if you're 10th level, you could spend 2 mana and do 2d8 damage. So that's just universal across all the boards. Rogues, fighters, barbarians, rangers, paladins, they can all do that. So when we're looking at these strikes, that's like one die for corroding strike. Your weapon deals acid or necrotic damage, your pick, and then it adds 1 power die per mana burned, channeling this power. That's pretty straightforward language. If all this language is clean, then we can just move into the Paladin for the day. Hey, Hornetico, how you doing, man? Just started stream. Your timing is good. So I think we may be good with most of this content. I think there's some choppy stuff down here at the end we can clean up. But let's just go through this and make sure everything reads cleanly. That's today's process, to make sure that strikes are clean enough for people to be able to properly understand how to use it if they decide to go to the Patreon, click on the link, pick up this content for use at your own table for you to play test. And of course, I would love to have comments in the comments thread on the Patreon for y'all to just give me some feedback on what you're experiencing. If there's any hiccups that I haven't found yet, I've been using this at my 15th level table. I've got a Ranger, an Arcane Trickster, as well as a Druid that can use these things while she's in wild shape form, which is a variant expansion of this book that I can build out. Once this is published, I can then do a separate tear out piece specifically for wild shaping and polymorph, how to spend mana on shape changing abilities to be able to implement things on the fly, similar to the ideation process we had done maybe episode 7 or 8, I think, down in the playlist, when we were looking at Simic hybrid mana cost abilities. It would be similar to that you would be able to use wild shape. If you go on DMsGuild and check out the Nature's Ally supplement that I created, it's a Strixhaven class for both wizards and druids to take as either a single subclass or to combine into a multi-class, so that your wizard and your druid are using wild shape abilities, the arcane land feature recovery option, as well as having a homogeneous conjuration pool of different type of elemental, fey, and beast monstrosity type creatures that either a druid wizard or a druid wizard could use that gains additional advantages in conjuration to make those summonings more strong. So that's just like one of the dozens of things that we can do with martial power spell points once the book is finalized, for you to be able to build out like a Boros Swiftblade or like a Demir Mind Spy, or just any variety of, specifically MTG, but more broadly, any campaign, any idea that you want. Like we did all the work with the Blood Hunter, converting the Blood Hunter into a PowerPoint campaign so that you don't have to go into cutting yourself if you want to gain, you know, Witcher powers. You can just have a mana pool to use that, like with your Ranger or your Paladin or Rogue, Barbarian, Fighter, etc. So anyway, strikes. So corroding strike, weapon, let's see. Your weapon deals acid or necrotic damage +1 power die per mana burn, channeling its power. Okay. Disarming strike. Instead of, let's see. Your weapon, when you hit with this strike power, instead of adding a power die to your damage roll, you attempt to disarm the target, forcing it to drop one item of your choice that it's holding. It must make a strength saving throw, adding +1 power die per mana burned channeled, per mana burned while channeling this power to the disarm, to the strength saving throw. This might be excessive, but I'm just being redundant to make sure that it's transparent and clear for the playtest. The saving throw DC on a failed save. On a failed save, it drops the object you choose. The object lands at a location you choose within 10 feet of the target per mana burned, channeling this power. So obviously, if you're going to spend 5 mana on this, you can add 5d10 to the DC to disarm your target, potentially with a DC of 70. That's pretty clutch when it's necessary. Often you won't need to use it, but if that's the kind of shenanigans you want to be able to use, it's useful to have that in your back pocket. Hell yeah, Swiftblade is always fun. I have a Swiftblade built for this. I'm just waiting for this to finish out for me to publish it. Basically as like a $1 pay what you want, which you could then use as a coupon discount when bundling with this. I like making small short pieces that you can bundle with larger ideas when everything's 100% visible. You can see where it's going. You can see what the further content is expanding on the content, and then getting them both together allows the opportunity to further discount the cost of purchasing things. Trying to just make it, I mean, it's sort of economy. Trying to make it as easy for folks to consume the content and to own it without having sample written across it. So, Face Strike. Your weapon. Face Strike. Your weapon. Is it your weapon? I like that can. Your weapon can deal damage and add 1 power die per mana. I like that language. So, your weapon can deal radiant damage and add 1 power die. Power die per mana earned. The target glows with faint light. Preventing the target glows with faint light, negating the benefits of invisibility or concealment, and attacks against the target are made with advantage until the target succeeds a wisdom save. Let's see. Made with advantage against negates the benefit of invisibility or concealment, and attacks against the target are made with advantage. The target should probably be creature. The creature to disarm. Let's see, when you hit with this strike, instead of adding a power die to your damage roll, you attempt to disarm the creature, forcing it to drop one item of your choice that it's holding. It must make a strength saving throw, adding +1, adding 1 power die per mana burned to the save DC. That's probably easier language. On a fail save, it drops the object you choose. The object lands at the location you choose within 10 feet of the target per mana burned, channeling this power. Your weapon can deal radiant damage and add 1 power die per mana burned. The target glows with faint light, negating the benefits of invisibility or concealment. While this power remains in effect, and attacks against the target are made, that's probably where I need to put it, are made with advantage while this power remains in effect, period. The creature can attempt to end this effect at the end of each of its turns by succeeding a wisdom saving throw. Period. That should probably be good enough for me to use for now. What you got saying here? Hey, speaking of combining things, have you ever had any idea for new martial powers that interact with in command? Thanks for the plug. Also on my Patreon, check the link below. There's a free link to the playtest content for In Command, which is, in my humble opinion, the most smooth mass combat system rules available for use with 5e, Pathfinder, 3e, or even 2e that I've ever seen. If it's a D20 product, you can use In Command with it. Specifically built, obviously, for 5e. Works great with Horde of the Dragon Queen. We're going to be providing content for use with Storm King Thunder, as well as Descent into Avernus. Have I specifically built In Command mana expenditure points for In Command? Not yet. But there are, as we get further into this, we're going to see that there are things that, like the Drake Warden and the Beastmaster, can specifically do. We also have the In Command has the 50 some odd summoning spells that spend spell points or spell slots to summon, which can curve into my general mana usage, but I haven't specifically built anything that bridges the gap between them yet. I just want to get the core products built, but as part of like an omnibus package of like using Phil Kearney creations in your campaign as a whole, I will eventually have that. I've got some ideas for alternate class features, subclasses, as well as DM tools. I'm going to be looking at Modrons, Mimics, a lot of Ranger options for use with creatures, and then upscaling those creatures beyond gargantuan sizes. So give me some time, and we'll probably start seeing anywhere from 5 to 20 page tear-outs and expansions for both of those systems that we'll be able to tie together probably in the later half of 2023. Unfortunately, all my stuff has a ridiculously long production timeline because I don't have 100,000 subscribers that will just immediately buy my stuff because they like my face. So if you want that dream to come true and me to have a vibrant Discord channel with hundreds of people that are willing to play test my content, like, subscribe, spread the word, and get folks on board so that we can get more soldiers fighting for better game designs in general. So let's see. I feel they could mesh in incredible ways under the right circumstances. Absolutely, I 100% agree. It will happen. Makes sense. My first thoughts was like a pike block system maneuver, like squad stance maneuvers. That could absolutely happen. We want to make sure that the content that we have is square, pardon the pun, before we start integrating larger pieces like that. But yeah, we already have upscaling spells in the in-command document. It would be pretty easy for us to be able to implement mana effects for any kind of a commander, whether spellcaster or marshal, using these mechanics. And this system is designed to have every character in D&D using the same sort of mana system, like the same mana expenditures, so that there's a fluidity between all the different classes, so that when you introduce a piece, you can make it work at all levels of the game. So yeah, absolutely. I'm super looking forward to implementing that stuff. Okay, great. So let's see. Beep, 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 beep. Your weapon can deal radiant damage and add 1 power die per mana burn, period. The creature glows with a faint light aura, negating the ability, negating the benefits of invisibility or concealment and attacks, or concealment, comma, and attacks against the creature are made with advantage while this power remains in effect. The creature can attempt to end this effect at the end of each of its turns. By succeeding a Wisdom saving throw. Flinging Strike. Your weapon can deal fire damage and add 1 power die per mana burned, period. The creature. Let's see. The creature is caught on fire, taking a number of taking fire damage equal to the max power level you can channel each turn. The creature can attempt to end this effect at the end of each of its turns. By succeeding a dexterity saving throw, period. Dexterity each of its turns. Cool. Freezing Strike. Your weapon deals. Your weapon can deal cold damage and add 1 power die per mana burned, period. The creature movement is halved until the end of its next turn, period. So this is an example where the damage scales, but the effect doesn't scale. Flaming Strike is an example of how mana can scale, and the power scales with your max channel level. Corroding Strike is an example where the damage scales by power die but doesn't have any kicker effects. And Disarming Strike is an example where the damage and the effects scale with each mana expended. So there's a lot of different variety of how these things interact with the system. Each is fairly unique to itself. So Goading Strike, let's see. Your weapon deals and weapon damage increases by 1 power die per mana burned, period. The creature you strike has disadvantage on any attack made that doesn't target you. The creature can attempt to end this effect at the end of each of its turns by succeeding an intelligence saving throw. I also like how much variety we have in the types of saving throws that are being made. Grappling strike. Uh-oh. Time for timers. Let's restart that. Keep it going. Grappling strike. Let's see. Where's good language to that? We already have that. Under disarming strike. When you hit a creature copy. Goading strike. Grappling strike. When you hit a creature when you succeed with a melee attack using this strike power, instead of adding a power die to your damage roll, comma, you can okay, great. Your weapon damage increases by 1 power die per mana burn. And you can grapple the creature hit. Oh, no, that is incorrect. That was the wrong deal. So when you succeed with a melee attack using this strike power, instead of adding a power die to your damage roll, you can grapple the creature, adding adding 1 power die per mana burned. To your strength athletics check. Bam. Motherfucker. What up? Question. Okay. Since I can't quite remember, but how would an Eldritch Knight's spell progression interact with martial powers? Does each power replace a spell known, or is there more involved? Okay, yeah, that's a great question. If you take the Eldritch Knight subclass, you can freely choose powers instead of spells. You can switch them up, and we allow you to change all of your powers and spells every time you gain a level instead of just one. The Eldritch Knight, as listed, is limited to I think evocation and aberration spells, but then every at 1, I think 1, 8. It's 1, 8, 14, and 20. At those levels, you can pick a school that's not abjuration or evocation. These martial powers are assumed to be universal for you to use. So it doesn't matter what level you are, you can always cash out all of your spells from Eldritch Knight and just use martial powers instead. Otherwise, you could use your Evo or Abjuration per level, and then at those 1, 8, 14, and 20, you would then be able to use any school for a spell that you want. And if you check in the link down below, in the bundle of books that I have in DMsGuild, you'll see Knights and Tricksters, which is a color conversion guide that instead of picking up evocations and abjuration, it has you select a color as your primary magic, like say black magic or red magic or white. And then at 1, 8, 14, and 20, you can select the spell from a different color. Like if your primary is white, a Boros could like pick red as an off color. Or you could always research a spell to be white or red so that you could get blue onto your spell list. And if you check the revised color magic spell list, that's also in the link down below in that bundle. It's 100% free preview. It's also pay what you want that gives you the revised list that has multiple colors listed per spell instead of just the singular spell that's currently published in Knights and Tricksters. That is an update project that I'm hoping to get into Q4 here in 2022. But yeah, great question. Whenever you're a spellcaster, if you are using martial powers specifically, you get the benefits from the powers subclass that we went over last week for the fighter and rogue specifically, as well as all the changes like the ranger and what we're going to be looking at with paladin. You can always weave in spells and powers as you please, as the DM allows. There's a lot of customization as to how the lists interact, which we'll spend some time on in the running a power campaign section of the book once it publishes. Great question. Thank you. Hey, great. I asked because 3 of the homebrew classes I've designed are third casters and base features. I've been wondering how they'd convert for players interested. Yeah, absolutely. Just pepper them in. I have a delayed. We have the delayed level gain because powers are instantaneous effects. They rarely require any prep beyond I roll a die. It's normally like when you roll the die is when you spend your mana, which is a lot different from how 5e mechanics normally work. With like you have to use a bonus action to prep something, or you have to use a standard action to activate the spell, and then you can actually start doing something with the next round. These are instant effects that you can use on the fly, so there's delayed usage. Granted, the Eldritch Knight is even more delayed because like they normally have access to second level spells at 7, third level spells at 11. Third level spells at 13, so this is obviously a lot better for them here. And then fourth level spells here at 19. These powers are... I recommend using the power progression table for powers, but still restricting them from first to fourth level for spells, because spells have a different interaction system than what powers do. But they can absolutely be used together. Just pay attention to what levels you're supposed to be able to acquire them. Let's see. Flaming, guiding, groating, grappling, lifesteal. Great. Your weapon damage increases by 1 power die per mana burned, period. In addition, you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to the result of the power dice rolled. Any temporary hit points that remain when you finish when you start a short or long rest are lost. Poisoning strike. Let's see. Your weapon can. Let's see what that's. Your weapon can deal. Your weapon can deal poison damage. And add 1 power die per mana burned. In addition, the creature is poisoned. The creature can attempt to end this effect at the end of each of its turns by succeeding a Constitution saving throw, period. So having multiple strikes that are tagging Constitution, Intelligence, Wisdom, Dexterity. If you get 16 powers over the course of 20 levels, if you don't take any feats to purchase any additional powers, so you have a really wide array of options to be able to attack different stats based on the type of targets that you're engaged with. Fighting spellcasters, use Strength and Constitution stuff. Bind them, restrain them, screw up their spellcasting. If you're dealing with brutes, use Charisma, Wisdom, and Intelligence saving throw effects so that they have a really hard time making the save. Beep, 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 beep. Thanks for the questions, Tornadico. These are great. Let's see. Psionic Strike. Beep, 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 beep. Your weapon can deal force or psychic damage and add 1 power die per mana burn. Period. That's psychic and force damage are not a lot of. There's considerably less resistance to those effects. Similar to way up here at the front end, we've got acid and necrotic damage. You have 2 options, so you don't gain any additional benefits from this power, as opposed to things like flaming strike, freezing strike, all these different effects. They have collateral effects that the creature has to save to end. But like the psionic strike and the corroding strike, they're allowing you to select between different types of damages, so it doesn't have additional kicker collateral effects that you have to worry about. So it's more flexibility, less collateral. Had some fascinating options last I remember seeing them. Yes, we are going to once I get through all of these initial abilities, hopefully finishing strikes and the Blood Hunter strike effects today. Next week, we're going to do sustained powers for what we have in the playtest, and then we're going to start layering in the psionic effects, the TK effects that we were looking at, the tanking effects we were looking at, the Simic hybrid effects that we were looking at, the time distortion effects that we were looking at, and that should be sufficient for us to be able to put out a product with like around 160 some odd various martial powers scaling from level 1 to 1st to 5th rank. That'll be plenty for this first book, and then we can start doing specific stuff like stealth powers, more psychic powers like extended psychic powers. There's no end to little nuances that you can do, like investigation powers. You can just do like little themed tear outs of like 10 or 20 powers, have a subclass or 3 that go along with them that are unique to utilize them. And then, bam, you have an extension product for martial powers. And if folks want to get involved in doing that stuff in the future, I'll be happy to bundle it. I'm happy to do layouts for that stuff. I'm happy to put artwork into it and to do a shared release. I really want to build products that inspire people to create new ideas, and I want to help facilitate them publishing them and getting them out there into the environment. So yeah, there's a ton of wicked cool stuff that we can do with this stuff. Your weapon deals. Your weapon can deal radiant damage And add... Your weapon can deal radiant damage and add 1 power die per mana burned. Period. In addition, the creature is blinded until it is blinded. The creature can attempt to end this effect at the end of each of its turns by succeeding a Constitution saving throw. Period. Constitution, is that the right for blinding? Maybe it's supposed to be wisdom. Blinding. Let's look up D&D Beyond, and then let's look up blindness, deafness, and see what its saving throw is, shall we? And that will set what saving throw we want to use. Choose. Oh, it's Constitution saving throw. So yep, that sticks. By succeeding a Constitution saving throw. Oh, come on, dude. Thank you. Shocking strike. Your weapon can deal lightning damage and add 1 power die per mana burn. Period. The creature can't take reactions until the end of its next turn. Period. See, that's an effect that doesn't require an extended saving throw. It just hits and it affects, and there you go. Thundering Strike. Your weapon. Your weapon can deal thunder damage. See, we're trying to cover all the damage types. And add 1 power die per mana burn. Period. The creature is pushed 10 feet away in a straight line. Is pushed 10 feet away. The creature is pushed 10 feet away from you in a direction of your choice for each point of mana burn. So, yeah, that's like what is that? What is that Eldritch invocation that allows you to pop somebody and push them 10 feet? You spend 5 mana on this. You'll do 5d10 thunder damage, and you'll push the target 50 feet away. It's yeah, freaking great. So the creature is pushed up to 10 feet. Is pushed up to 10 feet away in a direction of your choice for each point of mana burn. Bam. What else we got going on here? I'd say Constitution, maybe Dexterity. Yeah, Constitution. Let's see. Tripping Strike. Your weapon can deal. When you will use Grappling Strike. When you succeed with a melee attack using this, that's Tripping Strike. No, it doesn't require melee. The grappling specifically requires melee because you're grappling. That kind of makes sense. You have to hold the grapple. You can't really do that with an arrow. So when let's see, when you use this strike power, instead of adding a power die to your damage roll, you attempt to knock the target down. The target can be one size larger than you for each point of mana burned channeling this power. The creature can be, yeah. It must make a strength saving throw. or be knocked prone. You can add 1 power die per mana burned. Per mana burned to the DC. So again, if you're going to spend 5 mana, you're going to add 5d10 to the DC of your trip attack. You're at some point you're guaranteed to trip something, even the Trask. But again, you're spending mana to gain access to the ability to do that. You're spending a resource to guarantee an effect that, at best, is just, I mean, in this instance, you're just tripping something. Grappling is more useful, especially if you get into the grappling exploits and maneuvers that we have up above that can deal additional damage, put people to sleep, restrain them. A lot of cool grapple interactions that you can have using these mechanics. You can do an attack and you can layer in your maneuver as a bonus action, or if you're a high enough level fighter, you can exchange additional attacks per round to do maneuvers as part of your attack sequence. I love that. I just wish there was more bandwidth inside of the fighter subclass to allow it to get you to get access to it at an earlier level. But honestly, it's pretty damn powerful, so I don't mind it being delayed. Uh-oh. We're at 40 minutes into this. We're going to keep it going. Oh, great. We're about halfway done. So, Innervating Strike. Let's see. Beep. Your weapon. Where's the wording for this? Your weapon damage increases by. So okay, so now that we're out of the first rank stuff, we're starting to get into more like just generic damage. So when you're layering, like if you're a 10th level, a 10th level character, and so you can channel 3 ranks worth of martial powers, you could do something like, say, use Thundering Strike for 1 mana and then push a target 10 feet away, right? And then on top of that, you've got Innervating Strike, which requires 2. So you spend 3 mana, 1 on Thundering Strike and 2 on Innervating Strike. Innervating Strike lets your weapon damage increases by 1 power die per mana burned. Your damage, I'm going to make this specifically, your damage increases by 1 power die per mana burned, period. Choose to lose the creature hit loses either its move its move, action, or bonus action. DM's choice. So if you're dealing additional power die damage and you're using Thundering Strike, you could choose to deal additional Thunder Strike damage, or you could layer in weapon damage. This Innervating Strike, because it's a separate power than Thundering Strike, you don't stack the 3 mana for 30 feet of movement from Thundering Strike. If you want to push your target 30 feet, you put 3 mana into Thundering Strike specifically. But you could do Thundering Strike, push them 10 feet, and then 2 mana on top of that for Innervating Strike to rob it of either move, action, or bonus action, its choice. That's just how interaction works in general. Plus 1 power die, mana burned. So this is going to be your damage increases by 1 power die per mana burned. And the creature is frightened until it no longer has line of sight with you. It can end this effect when it it can make it can the creature the creature can attempt to end this effect at the end of each of its turns by succeeding a wisdom saving throw, period. Let's see. The creature can attempt to end this effect. Let's see. Until it no longer has line of sight with you, or let's see. Creature is frightened, and the creature is frightened of you. Until until it loses line of sight. Until it loses line of sight with you, or you fall unconscious, or you are incapacitated. Period. The creature can end this. Can attempt to end the effect early at the end of each of its turns by succeeding a Wisdom saving throw. Period. Period. Where am I at? Provoking strike. Your weapon can deal psychic damage and add 1 power die per mana. Period. Provoking strike. How? Let me see. Goading strike. Goading strike. That feels like the same thing. Let me check on this. Goading strike. Your weapon deals. Your weapon damage increases by 1 power die per mana burn. The creature you strike has disadvantage on any attack made that doesn't target you. The creature can attempt to end this effect by end of turn, succeeding. And then we have Provoking strike. It might actually be the same thing that I need to eliminate this one. So that's why we do these checks, to see if there's redundancies. You can deal psychic damage. Struck creature only target you with attacks. It can only target you with. Okay, so goading strike, it can attack other things, but it's at disadvantage. With provoking strike, it can only attack you, and it deals psychic damage. That is definitely different. Your weapon can deal psychic damage and add 1 power die per mana burn. The creature can only attack you, can only attack you until it succeeds a wisdom saving throw. A wisdom saving throw can only attack you until it loses line of sight or you are incapacitated. The creature can end this effect early by succeeding a wisdom save at the end of each of its turns. Period. Creatures immune to charm are unaffected. Period. Revealing strike. Let's see. Your weapon. Let's see. Your damage increases by 1 power die per mana burned. and the affected creature can't hide or become invisible. Can't hide or become invisible, period. The creature can end this effect early by the creature can attempt. The creature can attempt to end this effect at the end of each of its turns by succeeding an intelligence saving throw, period. And then, of course, if it does that, you could use an exploit to give it a disadvantage or a power die penalty to that roll, because exploits are different from strikes. So you can penalize it every time it tries to do that as a reaction. I think it's actually a reaction, not an exploit. You can pop it to make it get disadvantage or have a power dice worth of reduction on its save check. Let's see, where are we at? Revealing strike, cool. Bursting strike is your damage increases by 1 power die per mana burned, period. All creatures within 10 feet of the creature hit other than you take damage equal to the result of the power die roll. And can make a dexterity saving throw for half damage, period. Delusional strike. Your damage increases by 1 power die per mana burned, period. The creature must make a wisdom saving throw or be confused as per the spell description. The creature can end this effect. The creature can attempt to end this effect at the end of each of its turns by succeeding a wisdom saving throw. This is an example. You get to make your save. You get to make a saving throw before affected by it, and then get to try to end the effect at the end of each of your turns. So this is very similar to a spell, but then again, it is duplicating confusion, which is a pretty powerful effect. So we've got almost every type of spell option here. Let's get rid of that. Your damage increases by 1 power die per mana burned. Damage increases by 1 power die per mana burned. The creature this attack ignores resistance if applicable. And if a creature is immune to the damage, it is instead resistant. The creature remains affected. Let's see. How should I word it? Your damage increases by 1 power die per mana burn. If the creature is resistant to the damage of this attack, it loses that resistance until it can succeed a Constitution saving throw at the end of each of its turns. If the creature is immune to the damage type, it is instead resistant. It loses that resistance. Period. If the creature is immune to the damage type, it is instead resistant. The creature can attempt to end this effect at the end of each of its turns by succeeding a Constitution saving throw. Period. Banishing strike. Your damage increases by 1 power die per mana burned. Period. Let's go with Delusional Strike. The creature must make a Charisma saving throw or be banished and incapacitated the creature can attempt to end these effects at the end of each of its turns by succeeding a Charisma saving throw. Period. Your damage increases by 1 power die per mana burned. Period. The creature must make a Wisdom saving throw or be paralyzed. The creature can attempt to end this effect at the end of each of its turns by succeeding a Wisdom saving throw. Period. We do not currently have any 5th rank powers listed for strikes in general, and we only have one Blood Hunter power conversion. So strike 1 equals phase strike period. Your weapon can deal radiant damage and your weapon can deal radiant damage. Let's see. Your weapon can deal radiant damage and add 1 power die. And add 1 power die. Power die per mana burned. You know what? This Phase Strike is incredibly similar to, I think, Revealing Strike. The damage increases by 1 power die per mana burned, and the effect, creature can't hide or become invisible. The creature can attempt to end this effect at the end of each of its turns by succeeding an intelligence saving throw. That is essentially the same as the Phase Strike. The only difference is attacks are at advantage until end of their next turn. Now we're just going to nip that. So bam. Okay, so that is all of the strike powers that we have listed here in the project. We did not need to keep the Blood Hunter ability because it's redundant with the Revealing Strike, and Revealing Strike is a little bit more conservative in the benefits that it provides. Getting rid of invisibility, I think, is a pretty good compromise. We now have 20 minutes left. It is 12:53 here in Seattle. We've still got we've still got 20 minutes on the block. Let's talk about Paladins. So we're going to hop over to the other documents. Let's tool on down to, skip past the monk variant, channeling. Current name, Nova Smite. So let's see. Martial powers, beginning Martial Smart. Let's see. How do we want to do it? Okay, so this is the original ideation, but I do not think we're going to keep it this way. I believe my thought process involving this has evolved since last visiting the content. So let's look and see how it reads right now. Nova Smite. Strike powers replace Divine Smite. Improve Smite and all Smite spells. Instead of using Divine Smite options, a Paladin gains the Power Smite feature, which is currently reads as gains the... What is Power Smite? Let's look at Power Smite. When you channel a strike power, you can use your bonus action to spend additional mana to increase the damage you deal with the strike power. To further increase the damage you deal with the strike power. The amount of additional damage dealt is the result of a number of power dice equal to mana spent plus 1. The damage dealt can be that of the weapon, the strike power, or your choice of radiant damage. Okay. Let's see. Divine power. You can choose to exchange your channel divinity feature for recovering mana during a short rest equal to your max paladin channeling level. Keeping that. So let's go ahead and just grab the front end of this stuff, because that's all relevant. We'll hop over here to the document. Let's scroll up. Yeah, my thought process on that has definitely evolved since we last visited this content. Barbarian, fighter, rogue, ranger, paladin. Paladin. I can just pretty much copy paste all this crap here. There. Channeling, and then let's go into Paladin. Channeling class features. When you're second level as a Paladin, strength, dexterity, or charisma. strength, wisdom, or charisma. To be your channeling score. Pool of martial powers, mana. You gain mana when you finish a long rest. You regain mana when you finish a... Because we revised this, so we're sticking with long rest mechanics. When you finish a long rest, shown on the Ranger progression table. Fixed. And then here you gain, at second level, you gain 4 martial points called mana. You regain mana when you finish a long rest. You gain 2 additional points each level, as shown on the power progression table. Table. Period. That should be straight. And then let's make sure that jives. Hybrid points 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, blah, 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 40 at 20. Cool. That jives. Barbarian. Fighter. Rogue. Paladin, mana, to your first level martial powers. You gain a level. You can choose to replace any number of powers you know for new ones. And then let's go look at Paladin class features. Paladin class features, you gain all Paladin class features as listed in the source book, including a Paladin oath. Spellcasting. When you use martial powers, you can choose both powers and spells when you gain a level. I'm going to go with Paladin level, power rank, or spell level. Delayed gratification here in comparison to what the normal half casting progression is. That is the price of power, TM. Martial power features. Martial powers changes some class features and provides additional options. Note. Using strike powers replaces divine smite feature and all smite spells from the Paladin spell list, period. Martial powers. Martial powers change some class features and provide additional options, period. Let's look at, let's see, we're looking at power smite. Power smite. how's that word? Replaces when you channel a strike power, you can use a bonus action to further empower your user to further increase the damage of to further increase its damage, to further increase the damage dealt. How do we do this? So it's you can spend additional mana up to your Paladin channel, up to your maximum Paladin channel limit, up to your to deal 1 additional power die per mana burn. For example, a 2nd level Paladin that uses you can spend additional up to your maximum power limit to deal 1 additional power die, to deal power die of radiant. No, we're going to get rid of that. 1 additional power die for damage, power die per mana burned. This damage can be radiant, or can be weapon, radiant, or any other damage allowed by the strike power, period. For example, a 2nd level Paladin that uses let's say corroding strike. Let's go down to the corroding strike language. Maneuvers, reactions, strikes. Corroding strike can deal acid and necrotic damage. Let's go back up. For example, a 2nd level Paladin that uses corroding strike can burn 1 mana to deal acid or necrotic and add 1d6 damage to one mana. When using Power Smite, you can use your bonus action to deal an additional 1d6 damage. That can be weapon. That can be weapon damage. That can be weapon, acid, necrotic, or radiant damage, period. At 10th level, you can spend 3 mana for 3d8 added damage and power smite as a bonus action as part of the attack for spending an additional 3 mana, dealing 3d8 more For example, a second level Paladin that uses Corrodian Strike. Let's just use that instead. For example, a 10th level Paladin that uses Corrodian Strike can burn 3 mana, deal and add 3d8 damage for 3 mana. Period. In addition, as part of the strike, you can use your bonus action to power smite. Use 3 additional mana to deal spending 3 additional mana to deal 3d8 additional damage, which can be weapon, acid, necrotic, or radiant damage. In addition to the hopefully that's murky as mud. I don't know if that's the best way to word it, but that's how it is for now. Hopefully that makes sense. If that doesn't make sense, or if you think it should be worded better, certainly be welcome to drop a comment down below, or float over to the Patreon and add a comment to the free link where this is at. You can add to the comments to the link for this playtest content. But again, the goal here is, so there's the normal divine smite ability of a paladin has you deal d8 damage plus 1d8 per spell slot spent. And in addition to that, there are smite spells that do specific things, like I think it's like like banishing smite, for example, is a bonus action to cast, and then you hold it, and the next creature you hit, it costs you a 5th level spell slot to cast banishing smite, and it deals 5d10 radiant damage and banishes the creature that you hit. You had to use a bonus action to attack. You then hit with it, and then the creature gets a saving throw and is either banished or it isn't. But we already saw here that we have banishing strike, which is just something you can do When you hit the creature, you can spend 4 mana, and then you can deal your 48 or 40-10 damage, and the creature gets a save or is banished. Using Power Smite, you could use Banishing Smite for, say, 4 mana to deal, if you're 18th level, then it would be 40-10 damage on top of your weapon damage. And then using Power Smite, you could add an additional 4 mana, so you've spent up to 8 mana in that one strike, dealing 8d, in this instance, 8d10 damage to that creature, in addition to it making a saving throw. So we're flipping it. The way that strikes work is that you can use it on the fly. Whenever you hit something, you can then choose to use the mana. The mana will either deal damage or deal damage and have a collateral effect that we've been looking at. And then the Power Smite allows you to then double down on the amount of mana that you spend, or just 1 point or 2 point, or red point, blue point, whatever. Spend additional mana on top of the strike effect to deal either more radiant damage, more weapon damage, or more specific damage depending on what the strike is, or, as we'll see later on in the book, like if you're using the color mana paradigm, if you're channeling red mana, and when you use this, you could deal thunder damage, lightning damage, force damage, or fire damage. If you're using the 4-element paradigm and you use air mana to air points to deal the damage, you could do cold damage, and it's escaping me offhand what all the damage types that are attributed to air. But each element has its own damage types that are attributed to it as well that you could use, similar to the different color mana. Like shadow might be like necrotic damage and force damage and psychic damage. We'll have all that parsed out in the Magic Paradigm section when we flesh it out more completely later on, which will probably be 2 weeks from now that we're going to explore damage types in Magic Paradigms. But this is the core of it, because as it exists currently, a Paladin can use a Smite spell as a bonus action, then attack, and if it hits, it can then use Divine Smite to double down on the amount of mana that you spent to deal basically Nova Burst damage using your bonus action and on-hit effects together. But the way that the Martial Powers works is that all the classes have the ability to use that Smite effect, where you can spend points on hit to deal not only additional damage, but also do Smite spells sort of effects that we've been looking at this session. This is a way for Paladins to remain being the absolute best at dealing Smite damage to creatures. So why would you choose a Paladin as opposed to a fighter? Primarily for Aura of Protection, and for the Power Smite option, so that you can double down on your mana. And when you have 40 mana, you can parse out on each hit. Do I want to deal 1 point, or do I want to deal 8 points of damage to deal just, say, D8 damage as an added hit and effect? Or do I want to do 8 mana and deal 8d8 damage, because it's a boss fight or something? But you're choosing on the fly how much of this damage are you dealing, and it's either going to be just part of the attack damage that you deal, the attack roll, or when you make that attack roll and you hit, you could then choose to use your bonus action, assuming it's still available, to then double down or add additional Smite damage dice to just really overclock how much damage you're dealing on your Nova strikes here. So that's what really makes Paladins stand out as still being the top Smite dog inside the 5e paradigm, while at the same time trimming down on how much damage that actually does, because you're getting all these collateral benefits from being able to stack up different strike effects. But this Power Smite is specifically just added damage. You don't get to stack up a bunch of additional strike collateral effects on top of it. It's just raw damage. Just like if you're combining a bonus action to cast a specific collateral damage Smite effect spell on top of Divine Smite as listed in PH. So in the end, using spell points in general, you get a lot more mileage out of smiting. So you don't need to deal like the D8 plus spell level times D8 because of the limit on spell points of spell slots that you have in the player's handbook. By converting to a spell point system, you don't need that added plus D8, because if you only spend one spell point and you're a 20th level paladin, that's 40 times that you could spend 1 mana for 2d8 damage each. Using this system at 20th level, you'd just be doing a single d8 damage per mana that you spend. And in the end, it's going to be 5d10 damage as opposed to 7d8 damage, which is less than what the player's handbook allows. But again, on the fly, when you hit, you can then choose to use your bonus action to also deal an additional 5d10 damage. So you could spend a total of 10 mana to deal 10d10 damage on a smite, which is, if I'm not mistaken, pretty much equivalent to the Hurl Through Hell ability that a Warlock gets at 14th level. So it's actually scaling in curve with the damage thresholds that you expect to have inside of 5e, but it's softening it across the 20 levels, the 20 level scope, so that the Paladin isn't getting the best, like eating your cake and having it too. So that is a mechanical compromise, hemming back in raw power that the Paladin gets, because you have more flexibility and options, more on-the-fly decision-making. But in the end, once you start getting up higher in levels, you can burst actually a lot more damage more consistently if that's how you want to burn through your mana pool. So it starts softer and ends very strong. So anyway, that's what we've got for today. Again, you can check in the doobly-doo, check out all my books, subscribe. This is session 12 of doing this. We're 12 weeks in, our third month. We've now gotten most of the classes, some of the features. We're going to come back and we're going to look at the 20th level aura transformation abilities that Paladins have, because I've got ideas about what we can use martial powers with to get you access to those sooner and to make better or more use of those Paladin aura transformation powers, so you don't get access to them right when your campaign ends. I think there's some things we can do here that will make them a little bit more user fun to make use of, but we're going to have to explore this together, and that's going to be its own ideation process, which we'll probably touch on in about 3 or 4 sessions. So next session, we're going to look at sustained powers, doing the same conversion process. After that, we're going to start weaving in the tank control effects 2 weeks from now, and then the psionic TK abilities that we created with Hornetico here in stream 3 weeks ago. We'll look at some of the other powers that we were looking at. I think they were additional psionic and simic abilities that will add to it, and that should flesh us out, probably like around 160 abilities all done and said. Whew. And then we'll come back and we'll start fleshing out the rest of the Paladin ideation. We'll integrate the rest of the Ranger subclass abilities. We're probably looking at about a month and a half out from here now, like 6 sessions from now, around session 18 to 20. We'll start weaving in the ideas that we have for the Artificer. Probably 9 or 10 sessions from now, we'll be adding in the Warlock. And that's going to have us pretty close to a full loadout on what is going to be inside of Martial Powers. That'll be, 3 months from now. That'll put us at August, September, where I can then hire on a writer to come through and clean up all the text in this. We'll be able to spend some time, probably before that, probably in September, we'll be able to spend some time looking at the notes that we want to include for running power campaigns, how creatures and enemies, NPCs, can implement martial powers to foil and challenge players in your team with on-fly die roll effects that are detriments, not just outright screw-you effects to players. And hopefully that means in November we'll have a full product that we can hand off to an editor. Looking at using King Carcass, who has done a ton of great work to be our editor in that, if he's going to still be available. Hopefully that means he'll be able to pass that back to me before New Year, which means in the first quarter of 2023 we'll be doing layouts and then building artwork here on stream every week on Mondays and probably Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and maybe Saturdays as well. At some point, probably in October, I'll start playtesting this stuff, just using some 5-room dungeons that we grab online just to tear things up for folks that want to come in and play with me to just build characters at different tiers, and we'll just put them through the paces and see if y'all like it. But so like, subscribe, check out the work that I have down in the doobly-doo down below. Check out my Patreon. All this playtest content. This document that we're looking at today is free for you to look at. It's just in the notes on the front page of the Patreon. Check it out. If you want to support me and throw some dollars my way and be a supporter, you're certainly welcome to, and I'd love that you do that. Buy my books if you like the work, but you can read them all 100%. Free preview, just click the eyeball on your phone or full preview on your browser, and there's about 200 pages worth of content using mana mechanics and alternate spell point mechanics that you can use right now in your campaign if you wanna explore different ideas. So that's it for this week. We'll be back next Monday with more martial powers. I've got playtest of an Eberron adventure on Thursday, so I'll be offline Thursday night. This Saturday, I've got a playtest for In Command. You can check the Patreon link to see the 5e In Command mass combat system that we have. That is the most fluid 5e mechanics for mass combat that I've seen yet. I wish I had 130,000 subscribers that follow me on YouTube, so I could so that it would get the attention and be able to warrant having as much following as some of the more popular people out there that have attempted to make, some Kingdom and Warfare mass combat rules. But people that want to play 5e want 5e mechanics. So they're here for you to check out. Be welcome to look at them, beat them up as much as you want. Reach out, ask me questions through Patreon. You can just drop a comment and ask me questions. I'd love to hear from you, and hope to see you guys next week. So see you when I get to, and y'all have a great day. Bye.